So you may have seen this was pretty big news yesterday. But before we get into the actual play-by-play of the press conference itself, I do want to just set this up a little bit, because even before the survivors took the stage at the press conference, this had made pretty big news. So Republican Representative Thomas Massie takes first step to force a vote on releasing the Epstein files. Representative Thomas Massie, the conservative firebrand who's clashed with Donald Trump and other GOP leaders, filed a discharge petition Tuesday to force a floor vote compelling the Justice Department to release all the files from the Jeffrey Epstein case. Massie and his Democratic co-author, Representative Ro Khanna of California, said they will begin collecting signatures for their Epstein resolution starting Tuesday. They'll be filming their new pilot for the Odd Couple series the following day. I think they can. I think they have some good chemistry there.
Congress would be much better with a live studio audience, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, put a laugh track in and everything, sound effects. They need at least 218 signatures, half the members of the House, to force a vote. And Khanna told NBC News he is certain that all 212 Democrats will sign on, along with at least 6 Republicans. As of this live stream, I believe they have 4 that have signed on: Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert. So I don't believe they are at 6 yet. That could change by the end of this broadcast, for all we know. If they can secure the requisite 218 signatures, there is still an additional waiting period of 7 legislative days before a vote can happen. Then the House Speaker has 2 legislative days before he must call up the measure for a vote on the floor. So the earliest the final vote could happen would be in 2 weeks. Speaker Mike Johnson and other GOP leaders are opposed to the push, arguing that it's not needed because the House Oversight Committee is investigating the matter and is in the process of reviewing a tranche of Epstein records. But the discharge petition allows a majority of the House to circumvent leadership's wishes. So in other words, if they get 218, they can force a vote. So let's hear Thomas Massie make his case when he took the stage at the press conference.
Colleagues are watching this press conference. I want them to think, what if this was your sister? What if this was your daughter? When these survivors speak, the Washington establishment is asking the American public to believe something that is not believable. They're asking you to believe that 2 individuals created hundreds of victims and they acted alone, and that the DOJ has no idea of who else might have been involved, that nobody else did anything that rose to a criminal enterprise. The American people know that's not true. Now, the Speaker of the House just offered a fig leaf to my colleagues. They're going to vote on a non-binding resolution today that does absolutely nothing. I appreciate the efforts of my colleague James Comer, who's leading the Oversight Committee. They may find some information, but they're allowing the DOJ to curate all of the information that the DOJ is giving them. If you've looked at the pages they've released so far, they're heavily redacted. Some pages are entirely redacted. And 97% of this is already in the public domain.
All right. So a White House official then commented on the discharge petition Tuesday night, saying that supporting it would be viewed as a hostile act. That's right. In an email to NBC News. So Thomas Massie tweets this out. White House says helping me secure a vote to release all the Epstein files is a hostile act. They're threatening anyone who helps bring true transparency and justice for the survivors. This is a tacit admission the Oversight Committee data release is woefully incomplete. Absolutely. Here he is being asked about this on the day of.
The kickback you're getting back from
Thank you.
your colleagues. What are some reasons why they don't want to endorse this?
Not right now. Okay. They're being threatened. I mean, look, I've got $2 million of ads running against me back in my district, and it's funded by 3 billionaires. One of them's in Epstein's black book. I mean, this is what happens. Your consultants, your political consultants will abandon you when the White House gets mad at you. The Speaker will block all of your bills. They'll shut down your fundraising. This isn't political, but it is. I mean, the opposition to this is very political.
Yes, indeed. And this was a great question by Status Quo's reporter John Farina, who Russ has run into in the streets of New York covering these protests and things like that from time to time. So he asks whether Trump could not only be covering for himself, but even if Trump is not covering for himself, which I find that very unlikely, but it's possible, in fact, likely that he's covering for people in his orbit, namely some big banks. So this was a great question, and I think this is a pretty ballsy answer from Massie.
So that's another reason you see some people are reluctant.
But you're not afraid of that?
Yeah.
So in 2023, JP Morgan Chase paid $75 million to settle claims that the bank enabled Epstein sex trafficking crimes. Is it possible these documents that Republicans and Trump are trying to prevent from coming out have important information that the banks knew about Epstein's
Absolutely. I mean, the first rule of any investigation is follow the money. So we got to follow the bank records. And that is one thing the Oversight Committee is doing that I applaud. Let's hope they get it out there. They can't just hold that information in their committee. Follow the money. Which accounts did it come from? Which accounts did it go to? And that's the quickest way to figure out who was doing what.
We banked Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm so sorry that we did it. I wish we hadn't. Had we known then, we know today, we obviously wouldn't have.
So sorry.
Yeah, it was those peppermints we put in the little tray in the lobby. It lured me. I wish we hadn't put those there.
The money is the obvious way to figure all of this out, because even if there's a client list that isn't as reliable, because Epstein wrote everybody's number in his books and it doesn't necessarily mean anything, the money would tell the true tale. And Maxwell, in her deposition or whatever, her testimony, said she couldn't. They're like, what about these millions of dollars in your bank account? She's like, I don't know where that came from. I don't know. Epstein didn't send me money. Like, it'd be so easy to unravel all this if they looked at the money.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't seem like a particularly complicated case if you just follow the money. I mean, what was Epstein? He was a school teacher. I mean, how did this guy come into all of this money and wield all of this influence, right? I mean, these questions are just hidden in plain sight. But, Donald Trump, of course, does not appreciate Thomas Massie being this kind of a thorn in his side. So Massie stands up for Epstein's victims, and Trump immediately goes live on the air to say he's an insurgent who should be taken out. So here he is on Scott Jennings' show.
A thing that's happening, and I do bring a unity to the Republican Party. Almost every single person I've endorsed has won.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone who hasn't.
I've gotten almost every Republican to go from child sex trafficking is a global emergency to what's child sex trafficking. That's how much unity I bring to the Republican Party. I got almost every single one of them to change their mind about child sex trafficking rings in a couple of months. How do you like that?
I endorse a person, they win. And I do well in the elections, too. I don't want to put that down because with the Republican Party, it's like 399-0. Think of that. And many of those are insurgents, people that I like better. I didn't like a certain Republican. And, we like this guy, Massie. He's going to be taken out. He's no good. He never votes. He never votes for anything, It's like he's from Kentucky. He's always a no vote. It's like automatic. If it's good or bad, he thinks he gets publicity by voting now. We call him Rand Paul Jr. But it's terrible, some of these guys. So sometimes you have to take them out, and I do, and I win.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. I don't know. I mean, we're going to do a segment. In our next segment, we'll take a look, I think, at some of these polls where you just see, like, overwhelming support for releasing the Epstein files. Oh, no, I have that right now, of course. It would make logical sense. Yeah. That's the polling on whether or not the Epstein files should be released. So self-described MAGA Republicans at 82%, an overwhelming majority. But ironically, that is the smallest batch of support that it has. Non-MAGA Republicans, 83, independents, 86, Democrats, 90. So it's funny, he mentioned that on Scott Jennings' show because Scott Jennings kind of became somewhat famous for coining the phrase 80-20 issue, at least as it's modernly talked about how Democrats sometimes get on the wrong side of these 80-20 issues. Well, here you are, squarely on the wrong side of something that's more than an 80-20 issue. So I think Thomas Massie is going to be just fine. And it's just incredible that Trump is picking this kind of fight over this against a beloved figure within his own party, who obviously has not just a party, but the whole country on his side. Go ahead.
You'd have to have something big to cover up to want to pick this kind of fight, wouldn't you? to decide.
Exactly.
One of the best "thou doth protest too much" moments was when the reporter tried to ask about it, and he's like, "You still talking about Epstein?" He like loses his shit. He's like,
yeah.
It's like, we got other things to deal with. Why are you even talking about it?
Why are you even talking about this?
Why are you even talking about it? But yeah, it's and I don't know if you covered already Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony that a few weeks ago or whatever, but it's hilarious because it's like, and what about Trump? Yeah, I saw Trump a bit. He's just a perfect gentleman.
Yeah.
There were no clients. Oh, you're convicted of sex trafficking to no one. She just sex trafficked around in circles. There were no clients. She couldn't name anything. Had never heard of anything. Like, it's amazing.
It is amazing, and it is just incredible. The how stupid they must think their own base is, because I mean, to go from, I remember, if you remember a couple years ago, remember that movie Sound of Freedom came out, about the guy, I forget the guy's name. I think that guy ended up being a weirdo himself, but based on a true story about this guy who saved all these kids from a child smuggling ring, and it became this big sort of sleeper hit in like conservative spaces, and they were all these very conspiratorial stories out about how the liberals were trying to crush this movie.
Pizzagate and everything, right?
Well, this was after that. This was just a movie that came out. Mel Gibson produced it, about the real life story of a guy who, cracked the child trafficking ring. This was a big culture war moment on the right just 2 years ago. It was the Trump base that was making a lot more noise about this until a few months ago. And now it's just completely flipped. And the few principled people now are going out on a limb, and they're being branded hostile actors by the White House.
Yeah, hostile actors. He's a traitor because he wants to reveal who sex trafficked pedophiles.
Yeah.
I don't know. And Trump is, it's kind of fascinating that all of Trump's tricks that normally work to cover up stories have not succeeded on this one topic. Like, he's gone to war in multiple countries. He's blowing up Venezuelan ships. He's got the troops wandering down the middle of D.C. streets. Everything he can, all those tricks that normally work for him, this is the one topic where he can't cover it up so far.
Yeah, the dog ain't wagging, as they say.
Yeah.
That dog will not wag.
Please clap.